The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. We have the Microsoft Medics 365 here to talk to you today about Dynamics 365 upgrades and licensing, and give you a little bit of background about the Medics for those of you that are not aware of who we are, or what we're doing. So since Chris originally started the Medics with the CRM UG group, I think I'll let him share that background.
Sure. Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the first Microsoft Medics call, and thank you, my fellow medics, for joining us. So the Medics concept started out back at CRM UG about 2 years ago, and what happened was a lot of us would have sessions, and during those sessions there were a lot of questions that people had or held specific to their individual case and wanted some help. So as we were leaving those conferences, we would find that we're trying to go to the next conference, and a lot of people would want to talk to us. So we came up with the concept of, why don't we set up a table or a medic tent, which we originally wanted a MASH tent, which is another whole story. But that medic tent would allow us to have a gathering place where people could come and ask their questions. And it's been very successful. We've done it at several of the Microsoft conferences. It's so successful that it not only has crossed over to all of the Dynamics platforms, so you have AX, CRM, UG, SL, and GP, NAV, Medics. But I've actually started an Azure Medic group as well. So the Medics concept of being there for you, answering questions, give you the ability to have any one of the gentlemen or ladies on the phone answer a question for you. And if you can't answer it, we'll look it up and find an answer and then retweet it out. And that's why we're here. That's
great. Thanks so much, Chris. I really appreciate that. You had such a good story to tell. I just had to take that opportunity to let you tell it. So Microsoft Medics 365, what are we? We are the medics for Dynamics 365, Office 365, and the related products. And hopefully what we're going to do is have at least monthly sessions, and sometimes they'll be focused on Dynamics 365. Sometimes they'll be focused on Office 365. And our panelists will vary depending upon the topics that we're focused on. Having said that, we hope that as an audience you're going to participate and you're going to present your questions. We're here to, respond to any questions that you have, whether it's Dynamics 365 or Office 365 or related technologies. And we're going to try to keep a mix of the panel so that we have people that can respond to your questions. But rest assured, if for some reason we're not able to answer a question, we will get the answer and we'll get back to you and definitely help you solve your problem. So consider this as the docs are in and we're ready to get started. And, we'll talk about some things that we have on our agenda. But as soon as you have a question that you'd like to share, please enter it into the chat, into the question option that you should be able to see. As the audience, and we'll take those questions as they come in. So just a quick introduction about who we have today on our panel. And I'll kick this off. My name is Donna Edwards. I am a Senior Technical Manager with TriBridge. I work with Chris in the on the engineering team. Focusing on a lot of R&D and other efforts for the company. I've been an MVP since about 2009, and you can see all of my other contact information. And we will make these slides available to you at the end of the session so that you'll have our contact information and be able to reach out to us. So with that, Chris, why don't you take it?
Sure. Hey, good afternoon again. My name is Chris Cognetta. I'm Director for the Client Field Engineering Team at TriBridge, responsible for our global architecture and support teams. I've been doing Dynamics CRM since 1.0. So yes, I've done command line installs, which is one of my favorite things, is infrastructure and architecture background, focused in Azure, as well as deployments of Dynamics 365 for call centers and global scale. I've been with a Microsoft MVP for about 5 years now. and I've been doing the medics, as we mentioned earlier, for about 3 years.
And Gus.
All right, well, hello everyone. My name is Gus. I'm the CEO at Elevate Solutions, and I've been an MVP for 5 years now, and working with Dynamics CRM since 2006. Really excited about the stuff the team has been working on, Dynamics 365, and obviously what's going to be ahead on the next few years. Really looking forward to that, and I really think the topic that we picked for today is a really interesting one, because a lot of people, obviously after attending some conferences and stuff, and seeing sort of the press releases, are really curious about how is this all going to work now that we have CRM and operations, or the whole ERP side working together. How's the licensing going to work? And we've heard a few interesting questions, so I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say, and obviously the attendees, the people who are on the session with us.
Great. And Salim.
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Salim Adaman. I'm actually, I think, out of all of us, the only one based out of Canada, so outside of the US. I live in Montreal. CRM consultant for SEDAX Technologies. I've been working with Dynamics CRM for about 8 years now, I believe. So version 3.0. It's been a long time coming. So very excited as well, same as Gus, to be discussing the licensing and also the upgrade path from what we know as CRM to Dynamics 365 now.
Awesome. And we also have Stephen Foster on the panel with us. He was having a little bit of technical difficulty, but I believe he's here.
Yep, I'm here. Thank you, Donna. Yeah, I'm a little bit of webcam problem, but might get that up and running during the webinar. So I'm Stephen Foster. I'm the product manager at Intergen in New Zealand. So it's a little bit early for me over here, but it's all good. I've been doing CRM for over 19 years on lots of different products. Dynamics CRM, not as early as Chris. On 1.2 I started looking at Dynamics CRM, so I'm more focused on the business sort of side of the product, how to take the most advantage of the functionality, advising our customers on roadmap, what they should be focusing on, licensing. So yeah, looking forward to this webinar. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everyone. And Jerry Weinstock from CRM Innovation is planning to join us in just a few minutes. Hopefully, he's running a little bit late, so we should see him before too long. So without any further ado, I want to just say welcome to the audience. I did upload the presentation as a handout, so you should be able to hopefully access that. If there's any problems, feel free to send a question or send a notification, let me know, and I'll work on that. So we're covering two things today, and I chose these two things because there's certainly a lot of questions out in the community about both of these items, given that we're now moving into an entirely new product line, Dynamics 365. So the two focus areas that we wanted to talk about today is the upgrade process and also the licensing process, or licensing in general. So there's lots of questions around licensing, right? But before we get there, and while we're waiting on those first questions from the audience, let's talk a little bit about the upgrade process. So we have upgrades for online and upgrades for on-premise. So let's jump to online first, and I'm curious, are there any big changes when upgrading from online based on what we've seen in the past? Like, for instance, when we went from 2015 to 2016 online. Are you seeing any big changes between that process and the process of moving from CRM Online to, CRM Online as we know it today, which will be Dynamics 365?
Well, I think if you're asking some of our competitors, they'll say everything is different and it's going to be impossible and you're going to have to spend all this money to migrate from CRM Online to Dynamics 365, when in reality, when you look at it, the way I see it, it's more like a name change. I mean, the process is identical to the way it was when you went from 2015 to 2016 or 2013 to 2015, whatever it was. You schedule your upgrade time and date, and you get upgraded. It's as simple as that. All of the functionality works. There are a couple of changes on the UI, that are a little bit annoying if you're already sort of adapted to the navigation of CRM 2016 online. For example, now you click on the logo and there's this bar that comes up on the left with apps and stuff. So there are a couple of differences, but when it comes to the upgrade process, it's pretty much the same as it's been before. And I think it's important for us to mention because I've heard several people now say that they've been approached by some of our competitors saying that, hey, look, if you have to spend all this money to get into Dynamics 365, why don't you just spend it and migrate to our platform instead? And it's important to talk about the fact that that's a complete lie, it's a myth, and the fact that if you're on CRM Online, you'll be upgraded as smooth and as seamless as it's been in the past.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, Gus. I think one of the things that people also have to understand when you go more technical and you look at the product version, right? So CRM 2016 was 8.0, and then we had an upgrade which was 8.1, and then Dynamics 365 is actually 8.2. So it's not like it's a major difference in terms of the platform, right? They're doing more compartments, so we have all the modules now, so the sales is there, the services, the field service and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, the core of the platform is still very, very close to what it used to be.
And I think when you look at what the Dynamics 365 value proposition is, with the common data model, the reporting layer, all that, that's really where the change is coming in. The platform as we know it today in the online upgrade world, as Gus mentioned, not only from an online perspective, but also an on-prem, the solutions you have running in 2016 should work under Dynamics 365.
Yeah, I mean, and the process is like it's been in the past, right? Where you have, for example, if you're coming from 2013 to 2015, you'll have some perhaps customizations that are 2011 compatible that 2013 can work with, but no longer 2015 will be able to accept. So there's a chance for you to have to update some code. If you have some solutions, for example, doing custom editable grids, well, now they're out of the box. So you might have to get rid of that solution and implement the one that is out of the box. But this is pretty much the same thing we've always done, right? Evaluate your customizations, make sure they run in the new platform, upgrade your sandbox environment first before you do your production environment, make sure everything is up and running, and then move there. But there's no difference, I guess, on what we've done in the past. We're not saying that everything is going to work smooth. You still have to do your homework, but that's the same homework you did to go to 2015 or 2016, so there's no difference.
Yeah, the other rumor that people have started, Donna, is around there not being an on-premise version, and that's absolutely not true. There is an on-premise version of Dynamics 365. Will be available shortly, and you will be able to upgrade to that. So Microsoft is still taking care of the on-premise as they promised. So don't worry about there not being an upgrade path. There will be one for you there as well.
Yeah, and also maybe worth mentioning that the upgrade on-premise is going to be the same. The process is going to be the same as what we've seen in the past, where you can take a backup of an existing database and restore it into Dynamics 365 or different kinds of way. But essentially, it's exactly the same as what we've used in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, even in older versions, there's been even more complicated upgrades. Like, for example, when they did the table merge back in 2013 and made it mandatory in 2015, like, there are things that we have had to do in the past that are worse than what we're going to have to do for going to Dynamics 365. So I'm not concerned for any of our customers or anybody out there for that matter.
That's so true. I mean, for those of us who have been around since 1.2, do we even remember what the upgrade process was from 1.2 to 3.0? It was like, and even 3 to 4, right?
Yep, new VM, new VM, new VM.
Yeah, and even like the operations or I guess the logistics side of it.
Different product, a different application, right?
The customer-driven upgrade process has improved tremendously. Communication is better. I mean, we used to hear like companies that, you know, showed up on Monday to work and their instance was upgraded and they never knew about it. Like that, just, you don't hear that. There's been a couple of years now that I haven't heard any hiccups, any problems. The problems that you hear are people that didn't do their homework, right? They just click, yeah, go ahead and upgrade me without checking any of their customizations. But other than that, other than issues due to neglect, you know, I just haven't heard anything. The team has done a great job improving the process.
I agree. So, Stephen, looks like your camera's on, but I don't think I'm hearing you. So we're not hearing you, so.
Hello?
There you are. Got you now.
There we go. Perfect. Get the webcam working, lose the microphone.
Good to see
Yeah,
you.
no, all I was going to say is that with Dynamics 365, obviously, with this concept of apps and the apps being the sales, the customer service, the project service, field service, this is what we've got today in the standard Dynamics CRM products. We have all of those solutions that we can install and use. And really, when we upgrade or migrate, we're just migrating into those apps view of the world. So there's no real change to the capability or functionality when we upgrade. It's just a rename, I suppose, of the modules that you're used to.
Yeah, I think that's all really good points. So I think the key takeaways from my perspective here is really it's the same process that we've had before. And the good news is that we don't have a lot of major code changes, right? So we don't have anything like we've had to do in the past where we had to, do the legacy code checker, those sorts of things. We would expect if code is functioning in CRM 2016 and CRM Online is going to function in Dynamics 365 as well. There may be a few minor changes, but the key takeaway is the same message that we deliver every time the MVPs are in front of you, and that is test, 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 right?
Absolutely. Do not deploy it on a production environment without testing it, going through the systems. That's what you need to do with all of these upgrades to ensure you don't lose functionality that you might have had from the past. And I think as Guts mentioned as well, there's some new out-of-the-box opportunities like subgrids that you guys could look at implementing, editable grids, that you'd be able to implement and get rid of some of the customization. The more that Microsoft continues to build upon the product, the less customizations that we'll have to worry about as these upgrades continue to move through.
Yep. Perfect. And I did notice online that it says that for CRM 2016 Service Pack 1, mainstream support ends on January 12th, 2021. So that's definitely giving you some time. And then it goes into an extended support, and that extended support period doesn't end until 2026. So it's not like you have to rush out today and get this. You definitely have some time to do your due diligence and ensure that it's going to work for you, that everybody's trained and understands the few navigation changes, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of companies that see the demos, right, for Dynamics 365, when they see stuff like relationship insights, right, they get excited and they say, our competitors are going to use this thing. We have to get in it. We have to dominate, right, the game. So they're going to be on a rush to get it. But, don't forget to do your homework and test and make sure you do it responsibly. So definitely go for it. Go to Dynamics 365. Don't wait years, obviously, even though we have support for 10 years. But don't do it irresponsibly. Go for it after you do your due process.
Great. That sounds great. So,
and I think it.
Go ahead, Slim.
Because we're really the five of us are really focused on the CRM side of things historically and from experience. But I think also worth mentioning in the Dynamics 365 offering there is AX, which comes in as operation. And there is also a path to upgrade. Whether you're already online, there's a project on that. So you're going to transition over to Dynamics 365, and there's also a plan for the on-premise side of things. I wouldn't speak to the details because I don't know them, but I know there's a plan all across the offerings of the platform just to make sure people are aware of that.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good item to point out with regard to AX, because now we're going to be living more closely with AX. So I really like that you brought that up, right? So online, I think my understanding is that they have the LCS model, right? So the lifecycle services that they're going to be able to use as part of that upgrade process.
That's correct.
Yep. And then they also have, are they doing upgrades for on-premise, or is that?
Oh, the AX version of Dynamics 365 is only available in the cloud from what I understand today. This is the cloud version that they've been talking about for a while with LCS, etc. There's components and pieces, a lot like the new CRM stack, the way that they're trying to base things on, using Azure, those kind of things are all coming into play.
Yep. Okay, great. So let's move on. Let's move on to licensing, because that's definitely more complex, and I'm thinking we're going to get a lot of questions. And actually, we do have one question just to kick us off here with regard to licensing. So there's some interest in understanding. The way the question's framed is understanding the limitations on the team license and how we understand the team license. But rather than talking like speaking to it from a perspective of limitations, I think the team license serves a very real purpose, and it replaces, another license type that we've had in the past. So I'd just like to hear your perspectives on how you think the team license plays in the overall picture of Dynamics 365 licensing.
Personally, I think that it's going to be a much broader conversation because of the fact that the licensing pricing model has changed. So now you're looking at a significant jump from the $65 a month seat to the $115 in enterprise, and you're going to have people who are going to be asking us about that license count in regards to how can I reduce the license costs, or I have other people who are back office users who are not using that scenario. That's how you can really benefit with this $4 to $10 pricing scenario for these team member licenses. Will allow you to take advantage. The challenge is if you're using CRM as a development platform, you're really going to have to stay away from the COLA entities, which is contact, account, case, opportunity, lead. If you stay away from those and build your own solution, then you can really take effect of those team members. Or if you split your sales organization out where the people who are working on the opportunities, etc., need that access, and they can get that access. So I think that's going to make a significant savings and bring that conversation more forward than it has in the past.
Yeah, and I think the team member, actually, when I'm dealing with a lot of my customers at the moment, we're actually looking how we can leverage the team member license a lot more than we did in the past, some of the other lower license types. The actual, I suppose, key differentiator with the team member license is you've got full access to accounts, contact, activities, and notes. You can create, you can update all of those records, and a lot of times when you implement a CRM solution, regardless of what the platform is you want to give access to the widest and most people possible, because everyone engages with people, everyone engages with the customers. So you want to make sure you maintain all the interactions that you're having with those customers and make sure you've got the most relevant, up-to-date data. So having full access to accounts, contact, and activities enables you to utilize that and have the majority of hopefully your users in your organization being able to access the Dynamics products. The other core areas is that the team member gives you full access to knowledge base. So this now gives you an opportunity as an organization to share a common knowledge base across the whole of the organization using Dynamics as the store of that information. And I'll add one more final point, but there's lots to add about this, is the portals. With Dynamics 365, you get a portal. So if you've got users who have purchased an app or have purchased a plan, as well as a license, then immediately you get a portal. And what you can do with a portal is you can make that portal employee focused, and therefore the employees can utilize capability to update information via a portal or via the user interface. So I think the team member license is actually quite a valuable license and actually enables you to do a lot of capability. There are some things you need to consider when you talk about custom entities, but yeah, it's quite a viable license.
That's awesome. Just real quick, I'm going to do a real quick interruption. Hold your thought. Jerry was just able to join us, so welcome, Jerry. I did introduce you at the beginning. But we're happy that you're able to join us, and we're just getting into licensing now, and we're talking about team licenses.
That sounds great. Thank you. I'm sorry I'm late. Actually, I got called off to a client this morning for a meeting. They had realized their EA agreement was expiring at the end of December, and we had to try and help figure things out on what they were going to do about moving from on-premise to online and how that was going to work into their EA agreement. So I was doing a little one-on-one medic work this morning on Dynamics 365 pricing.
That's awesome. I bet you're going to have a lot of great information to share on that. So let's hear a little bit more about the panel's perspective on the team member license, and then we'll jump into some other more general questions, unless we get some more questions from the audience.
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to say is that a while ago when they introduced this new, I guess, these new licenses, the essential and basic levels, and then the enterprise as well, because we only had basically professional before. You know, when they introduced the essential, which was $10 per user per month, I always thought that somebody was going to come and create some XRM solution that replicated the majority of the functionality of CRM so that people got just licenses for $10. Like even if you charged $15 a license, but you provided like almost the same functionality, you can do that. But the problem is that the licenses also apply like behind the scenes. For example, they tell you that you can't really trick it into, for example, you say, okay, well, with the team-based license, you can't access, let's say, the quote entity, and then you say, okay, I'm going to create a custom entity called, you know, quotation, and then they populate that and have a workflow create a quote on behalf of the user or something like that. You can. You're still violating licenses. So it's pretty tricky working with it. It's not pretty straightforward. Like you can't just access those other entities because the licenses don't enforce the functionality. You actually have access to everything. It's all about self-enforcing and sort of honor system that they have. I'm sure that they're capturing metrics behind the scenes, but if, you know, you can fall into these problems where you have, you know, a workflow trigger or some sort of, you know, code or calculation that is touching an entity that is not supposed to, and you can get in trouble for it. So you have to be careful when you're using licenses like this.
And I suppose actually I just make just one statement there. With the team member, you do have actually read access to every single entity in the system. So you can read quotes, you can read off, you can look at these records now with a team member, you just can't update them. And the key thing with a custom entity is you can't replicate an opportunity as a custom entity. That would deem you requiring at least a sales app license. And if your custom entities link to those an opportunity or to a quote, then that would also deem you requiring the relevant app license. So you do have to make sure if you do use team member and you give custom entities access, if those custom entities touch the standard opportunities, quotes, leads type records, then that will require the user to have an appropriate license at the app level.
Yeah, as one of the Microsoft licensing experts were saying to us that it should be cheaper to use Dynamics 365 in the new licensing model if you take advantage of the team member license. That's how they see it. They don't see it as the price is raising. And so if you're hearing that from your customer, or if you are a customer and you're hearing that, then you really need to take advantage of that model, as Stephen suggested.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
Let me pose a team member license question. So if I have a team member license, can I take a contact record which I'm allowed to interact with and add it to a marketing list, or that's a violation because I'm not supposed to be interacting with marketing lists, I can only view them?
Yeah, I would think that's a violation.
It is a violation. You can only read marketing lists, you can't update marketing lists.
Okay.
However,
That's a
if
good
there's
point.
a dynamic marketing list and you just, you know, add data to the content and it gets automatically added, I wouldn't think that's a violation. But if you're
So,
manually, then you're selecting a marketing list and you're changing that marketing list membership base, so I think that's a violation.
And let's change the conversation because we don't want to be advocates for circumventing, right, of the license count or how you could do it. We're going to leave that all into the best practices of the licensing guide and where it is and what it tells you what you can and cannot do. The bottom line is if you need access to the COLA entities and you're doing read or write access, then you need to have access to a different license count. This is primarily focused at other types of users, back office users, maybe support type staff, things like that that don't need access to that individual, that you can change it up, or especially if you're building an XRM application built on CRM, which all of us know is very common today, especially with the emergence of field service and Azure IoT and those new services coming into CRM. Those are all new things that we're going to see new industries be born.
Yep, I think that's a really good point and probably a great way to respond to that. You know, we're going to do our best to adhere to the licensing model, but Jerry, that's a good point. You know, we want to make sure that we point out those things where people might be, where it might be easy to kind of slide over into a different licensing model and not really realize it just yet. So I think it's a really good discussion to have, and we definitely want to help people, understand what licenses they need to have and understand that and help them secure the correct licenses. So there's a lot of licensing available, right? We have the Enterprise Edition. We also have the Business Edition. And right now, I think primarily we're focusing on what's available in that Enterprise Edition. So just to help the audience and our community get a better handle on the licensing, when you go and you talk to a client in general about Dynamics 365 licensing, you kind of break it down into categories, or how do you approach that? How do you explain that licensing model to them in a way that they can digest it more easily and try to figure out what's best for them?
Well, I think it's best that we first let everybody know that the Business Edition is not available yet, right? So the Enterprise model is what's there today. So if you go off looking for the Business Edition, you won't find it. The release is sometime in the first quarter. There's another edition that's based on Project Madeira, which is financials for CRM, which is based on NAV with a CRM front end. It's not CRM Online. It does not have the capabilities of CRM. It's purely a contact manager. That version is available at $40 per user per month, but most of the people in our particular audience they're talking to cannot use that model. So what does that mean? First of all, if you're a CRM Online customer today, you can migrate to the Dynamics 365 Enterprise license, which will, for a short time, they're going to be giving that for $66 a month. So you can transition from one to the other and keep that licensing cal. I think it's 3 years, not 100% sure. That's if you have an EA. If you're on a monthly, then it might be a little bit shorter than that. The second thing to note is there's 2 levels of Enterprise. There's Enterprise Plan 1, which is CRM Online as you know it today. Then there's Enterprise Plan 2, which is CRM Online plus operations and some of the other modules that are available, which is the AX component that we were talking about earlier. So we are kind of at a short in our market space right now for an SMB offering. Jerry's probably shaking his head up and down because that's something that we feel wholeheartedly, and we're talking to Microsoft about as far as what that SMB solution is going to look like. Unfortunately, a lot of that's under NDA, so we can't tell you 100% of what we know, what we've been told there. We do know it will be a good thing, and it will work out well. We just need to let it wait its time for that offering to be available, and Microsoft understands the urgency to deliver that solution. So that said, that's the difference between the Enterprise and Business editions that are available today.
Yeah, if I look at my customer, and I'm talking with a number of customers at the moment, both new customers which are just getting into their implementation. They're looking at the license, how to structure them. I really talk about how we go about licensing around apps and plans, and it's really, I think it's actually quite simple. Today you've got the professional license, which gives you access to absolutely every single module inside of CRM, whether you require it or not. It gives you access to sales, it gives you access to marketing, it gives you access to service, it gives you access to some of the other areas. But as a user, you don't always need access to customer service. You might just be a sales user, and all you need access is your leads, your accounts, your contacts, your opportunities. That's all you care about. You actually don't care about the case world or the marketing world. And in that case, you're an app user. You just now need the sales app, and the sales app will give you all the functionality that you require and you use today as a professional user, but you'll just be a sales app. If I'm a manager and of a team, and I need access to both what sales are going on and also what inquiries are being raised around my customers, then I'm going to be a plan user, because I'm going to be using both sales functionality and customer service functionality. So I'm now a plan user, which gives me access to multiple apps. If I work in the contact center, I'm now, and all I use is customer service, all I use is case functionality, I'm an app user. I'm going to use customer service capability. I don't need access to sales or the marketing functionality. And the real big change, I think, with the license for online now is you've also got the access to device licenses, which means it's far more viable now in a contact center to roll out Dynamics 365 for customer service, because I now have to license the machine, not the individual, which is going back to the old licensing of the past, where you could have device license, but these device licenses are now available for online, which means I license the device and multiple shift workers can access that. So if you think around device versus named and you're in the contact center customer service space, then certainly the customer service app is going to, for device, is going to really affect and hopefully bring down your licensing cost from what it was yesterday. So really, you just think of it as if I am a single user who all I use is a single module, sales, marketing, project service, field service, I'm an app user. If I have to access multiple modules or apps, so sales, customer service, then I'm a plan user. And really, it's all about looking at the roles of your individuals in your organization and seeing if they need cross-app capability or just singular app.
Yeah, and then for those of you who are the 11 attendees that are on the call, we want to hear about your specific questions, right? What are you thinking about? What challenges you have? And we're here to help you try to give you the best practices as what we know today. You know, I say best practice and say it with a smile, since it's so new to all of us and what we're looking at, and we're all learning together. So if you got a challenge that you're dealing with, or you're looking at rolling this out to your organization, you know, submit a question. We'd be more than glad to answer that, or get the audience's opinion here, or the medic's opinion on which way it could go. But I agree with you, Steve. I think there's a lot of opportunity in using the apps. And I think where we're headed is we're moving from this monolithic application into this individually customized application, which is another layer of the licensing that will allow you to take advantage of those small layer apps and not have to pay for maybe service and marketing that you were not even using or don't even want in your application today. I know many vendors that start off and the first thing you do is edit their sitemap and remove all that functionality that the customer's not even going to need anymore. Just get rid of it, and that's another way of doing it.
So,
and it's very similar to other products on the market. You know, all of the markets, if you look in this space, have their license exactly the same way as the Dynamics 365 do. They license by the functionality that you're using.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's a really good point. And you know, it's just a different way to think about licensing. But over time, it's going to become much more simple, I'm guessing. So, Jerry, I'm curious as to your interactions with the client that you were meeting with today, and
so we talked about a couple things today, actually. One is, this is a client that we picked up a few years ago when they launched their CRM on-premise system. They had some challenges with their user adoption and have been struggling with user adoption. One of the things that we did identify is some of the things that they feel that can turn it around will be the ability to leverage some of the innovation that's available through the CRM or Dynamics 365 online environment with the Office 365 innovation capabilities, Cortana Analytics, Power BI, Microsoft Flow. So that looked very promising. It looks like they will probably renew their EA agreement at this point in time here in December, so that they can continue to have the option open here in the winter and springtime to move to the Dynamics 365 with the preferential pricing treatment. Basically, I think it's half off, approximately half off the regular price if you move from EA on-premise. The other thing that we looked at, and we talked about the team member license, because they'd like to expand CRM use to other people in the organization. So we're discussing some of the specifics of that, and that $10 pricing or even less if you're able to purchase in at a bulk group at a particular stair step, where you could get it for even, I think, $6 per month. And I think it goes down to $4, but they're not in the $4 category because they don't have that many potential users. That was a little bit of a nice surprise, certainly, and I think that is one of the things in their XRM world that is a definite plus for anybody else that's using contacts and accounts, and then everything else is XRM. The team member license is a great gift. So that's kind of the scoop. Extend their EA to give them the option for the upgrade at the discounted offering price, and then the pluses of the team member to get greater usage throughout the rest of the organization.
I think that's an amazing, benefit for the team member, because everybody I know, even if they decide that they want to rename those two entities, accounts and contacts are pretty much basic for everybody. Everybody, that's dealing with CRM is dealing with companies, and they're dealing with people. And basically that's what accounts and contacts are, right? Companies or organizations and people, generally speaking. So to be able to have a team member license and be able to interact with those two entities is huge from my perspective.
Right. So we're actually using this for a client that has gone to new client, Dynamics 365, and they happen to be a religious organization. So they have a number of people in their organization that are in church management that just need to manage their contact list and keep the contact information up to date. They have another group that does their donation management that needs a full license because they're going to be using the opportunity entity. And then they have a third group of people, their operations people that need to track information about legal information, license renewals for their properties with the state agencies, and that's all happening in custom entities, and that ties back to their contacts and accounts. They don't need to touch opportunities or cases, so they can use the team member license themselves. So a lot of team member use with some professional use for the people that are working the donation management, which we've leveraged the opportunity entity. So the team member litmus test, if you need cases or if you need opportunities and need to be interact with them, you can't use it. That's an immediate disqualification. After that, it gets perhaps a little bit fuzzier or case specific.
Okay. So if somebody did need to interact with contact, let's say an account, and they wanted to use the case, which license would you put them in?
Well, it's my understanding that they cannot use a team member. They cannot use a team member. They would use it'd have to be the service plan, service app.
Yeah, that's what I understand as well. Okay. And if they wanted to use opportunity, then they would use
Sales.
sales. Yep.
Sales. Right.
So that's how licensing is being affected by the apps. So you have apps and then you have licensing. So you're going to see that you might have people who are in sales and you might have people who are in service and don't have access to each other's information. It could happen, even though somebody else could see related information.
The key, though, I think,
I mean, the operations people will be in this application for the church. The operations people or the regular church management people will still be able to view the donation records and the pledge records. They just won't be able to interact with them.
Right. They won't be
and I think a key point to make is if I'm an app user, I'm automatically a team member user, which means I might be the sales app and be a salesperson, and all I want to do is view what cases have been raised against my customer. I want to interact with them. I'm a salesperson. I just want to know that a case has been raised. I can do that with the sales app without requiring the service app as well, because I have a team member right, which gives me full view capability across the system of all entities. So I can view those cases on my account record, on my contact record. I just can't create or update those records. So that's a thing to think, that if I'm an app or a plan user, I'm automatically a team member user as well.
So it does sound like there's a big responsibility for system integrators who are configuring these security roles, right? Because we have to make sure people only can touch what they're supposed to, given their license.
Yes, yeah. I would agree with that, because you can't depend upon the security model built into the system or the license model built into the system to tell you whether you're doing right or wrong. You have to understand it up front. And we've all seen the 195-page PowerPoint slide deck that explains licensing. It really doesn't explain it, because you still need somebody to explain the 195 slides, but it's complex.
It is complex, and I think that's why we want to get together, because we want to simplify it for people, right? Because we know that 80 to 90% of the people are going to fall into, fairly simple licensing scenarios where they're going to use, maybe a mix of things, right? But a very narrow mix. And then there's those few enterprise that where it is. You're absolutely correct. It's going to get really complex. So I want to try to ensure that we get the information out there that's going to at least help that 80 to 90% of the population differentiate. And one of the things you just said I think is really key. There's no connection between licensing and the security model, right? So right now Microsoft doesn't have those things built in, right? So you could give somebody a security role that really gives them more access to and more privileges than what the license that you've purchased has provided. So I think that's a good point and something that we need to be aware of. And in some ways, I mean, it's a little bit different than what we have today, but in some ways it's the same as we've always had, right? This isn't something new. The licensing model in the past did not have a direct correlation to the security model within Dynamics CRM, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's why there was a project. I think Neil Benson was trying to start a project to create security roles that map directly to whatever you had access to, depending on your license. So you can, basically limit what people can do and see on the different entities based on the licenses. But I think the two main issues that prevented the project from completion were, one, licensing keeps changing, right? Just the basic license and the essential license changed like 3 times between the time they were introduced and now. So you would have to keep up with updating those security roles, which then will become a problem, because if you do update them yourself and then the project releases a new version, if you import them, it overwrites what you've done. So that's one side of it. And then the second side of it is that, again, there are indirect ways to violate your licensing. So for example, even if you have a license that allows you to, let's say, change information in contacts, if there's a field that says run workflow number 5 and you click on a checkbox, you are not really running the workflow. You're editing a checkbox, but that checkbox happens to launch a workflow that goes and edits something that you're not supposed to have access to, and that's also violating a license. So even if you put a security role in place, it doesn't guarantee that you will not be violating the terms of your license. It's still just self-policing, and it's pretty complicated. I mean, it can get pretty complicated depending on your challenges, and that's why I think a lot of companies, and I'm with Jerry on the same boat of working with customers and trying to figure out what works for them. And it's pretty interesting, because sometimes, like, I'll propose, okay, look, I think we should look at 100 team member licenses or whatever it is, and then when they start talking to Microsoft and they understand all of the complexity, they're like, you know what, I'm just going to go for 100 service licenses because it's too complicated. Some companies just go, they don't want the headache. Just like other companies are like, no, let's figure it out. Let's spend 2 weeks trying to figure this out, and we'll make sure we don't break our agreement. So, it's interesting. So even, you're right, 100%. There's no connection between the security roles and the license. But even if you were to create those security roles, you're not 100% protected either. You have to still pay attention.
And just remember, that's a pain point during upgrade that you mentioned that we all seem to deal with. So when you create a custom security role, usually as the system and platform is being upgraded, new features, functionality have been added, it only updates the out-of-the-box roles. So your roles will then have issues working with the new feature set and functionality, and you need to modify them, or in some cases actually copy over the original role that it came from and then rename the role and change it into the role that you need. So something to look out for on the upgrade process. That's one that gets us all the time.
That's a great point, Chris. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, so we have a few minutes left here in the meeting today. I think our attendees are very engaged and they're very interested in what we have to say. They're still trying to sort through it, so they don't have a lot of questions for us, which is okay. But understand that the docs are in, and we're happy to take any Dynamics 365 questions that you have today. and also some Azure, Office 365. We all kind of cross over a little bit. So even if your question is not about licensing or not about upgrades, feel free to send it our way and we'll be happy to address that. While we're waiting to see if the audience has any last minute questions that they'd like to provide, I'm interested to hear just your general perspective on Dynamics 365 and the product changes. I know there's been what I like to refer to as FUD in the community, especially from our competitor, where they're saying, oh, it's just a name change, it's just a branding change. Well, I beg to differ. It's a significant change from a product and a product modeling perspective, and the functionalities that we're getting are certainly not just a basic update. I saw a list of what's new, I think, that was greater than 50 on the CRM roadmap. So I'm interested to hear from you and to understand how your clients and customers are receiving this product and what you're excited about. So talk to us, MVPs, and tell us what you're excited about.
I can start. So, yeah, you're right. And the funny thing is, if you compare to the previous releases, when a new release comes out, as a lot of partners do, there's a preview program where you sign up and you get to participate on the feedback process and all of that. And as part of that preview program, we go through something called an airlift, where for a couple days, basically, they tell us what's new and what we're going to be looking forward to testing within the next few weeks. And I think I remember the first time I did a preview program, I think it was like, I don't know, 2011 update roll-up 12 when they introduced cross-browser or whatever. I think that was the first time, or maybe 2013, but I remember it was one day airlift, that was it. And one day they'll tell you, basically everything that was coming out. And I think we're up to 3 days now, and three pretty crammed days where they have to leave things out, where they have to say, okay, look, some of these updates, like updates about portals, we'll just do it separately because we don't have time. And updates about, I don't know, PSA, well, we're going to do it at some other time because there's just so much stuff that is new. And we're getting to a point where, it's tough to be an expert on everything, right? You start talking to people when people ask for advice, for example. They want to get into our industry because, we have a great industry. They ask me, what's best? What should I go for? And my answer is always just try to focus in one thing. Try to go for, business intelligence or going to the field service side, or start like that. Try to become a subject matter expert in one of the apps or however we want to call it, and then sort of grow from there. It's hard now to be an expert on everything, but I'm super excited. The things that I'm most excited about is that it seems that the collaboration between teams is growing. It's getting better. The Exchange team and the Dynamics 365 teams are working closer. We're able to pull intelligence from Exchange that will help us improve sales on the Dynamics 365 side, and I can't even imagine what that's going to look like when the SharePoint team starts pitching in and saying, here are the most important documents, and here are the documents you should attach to your proposal that will increase your chances of success. Or imagine LinkedIn, right? The acquisition of LinkedIn. If that whole team works in, and now LinkedIn is telling you, like, hey, look, your customers are talking to competitors and stuff. I mean, the experience is going to be amazing for the business side of things. That's what I'm the most excited about, is this cross-team collaboration at Microsoft that, I mean, they're killing it. They're getting after it.
Yeah, great.
I would say that my favorite viewpoints are where the platform's headed as a whole. The whole Azure integration, the reporting capabilities. I mean, today, if you want to report, you have to move your database from online to a replicated copy, all having access to Power Apps, Power BI, Azure Analytics, Azure IoT. That's really going to open up some new feature sets and places. I think to Gus's point, the new feature set that's been added into Dynamics 365 are things that we've been looking for, like editable grids, components. I know Donna's a big fan of the relationship one. There's a lot of new features that keep getting added, but really it's coming down to how do we get these industry solutions in place to solve the business challenge. And that's, what we're focused on. And Microsoft has really taken a step forward, not only merging the platforms, but integrating with these other teams to provide that. So very exciting times in Dynamics world today.
And he doesn't seem to stop. Like, we were just at the MVP Summit. Do you guys remember, like, if you think about a few years ago on the MVP Summit, I mean, we had 3 days, and sometimes, like, on Wednesday by noon, we were all looking at each other like there's nothing else to talk about. How was it compared to this year, right? I mean, we were there on Wednesday till, like, 8 p.m. or whatever, still talking about stuff, and I bet we missed some of the stuff. I mean, the stuff that is coming in the future and the stuff they've been releasing has been amazing. So I'm really excited about the future.
Yep.
Agreed. And same here. I think we've been historically when we've had upgrades for CRM, we've been looking at the CRM functionality themselves. But now we're looking at the CRM functionalities which are coming. So we talk about analytical grids, the relationship insights, and all that kind of stuff. But there's so much more now because you have all the modules, all these applications that are kind of separated and becoming more mature. The field services, the PSA. You have ERP that's also available. Then you have analytics. You have Azure that can calculate things for you, bring you some more intelligence. You have Power BI that can connect a lot of things together. So I mean, it's from an offering perspective, I think Dynamics 365 is just huge. So it's very exciting for us to be working with it. The offering that we have for our clients now is just much bigger than what it used to be.
Yeah, I'd actually take it that actually the name change is quite significant. We're moving away, or Microsoft's moving away from a commodity play of being CRM. We're actually moving into a platform play. The platform play being Dynamics 365, Office 365, Azure, everything you can consume in the cloud. It's what we're talking about now. We're talking about the platform and how, as an organization, you take advantage of the platform to transform. I want to use the buzzword digital, transform your business into something different. And Dynamics 365 as a name change is a very significant name change because it removes us from thinking about just CRM. We're now thinking about field service, project service, operations. How do we expose capability out to our customers using Power Apps? How we provide a common data model that business intelligence tools can take advantage of, or other applications that I might use can take advantage of. It's about the platform now. And I'm no longer selling CRM. I'm selling how do I transform your business.
And we're no longer the experts in an individual CRM system, right? Now you have all these different components, all these different applications. Before we thought it was different when it came to just, all of us have a CRM background. Our focus was on extending CRM, etc. Now you have all these different new fields that are opening up, especially with the platform changes. It's going to give a lot of opportunity for others that are on the call that are in those fields to step up and become Dynamics MVPs in those areas as well.
Yep. And Jerry, did you have anything that you'd like to share? What are you excited about?
What I think it's sort of like for me is, eating dinner at home and eating dinner out. I mean, it's the same basic core functionality that we're trying to get calories in our system to kind of keep our bodies going. But the whole experience is different. So with Dynamics 365, my comment is everything's different and nothing's different. At the end of the day, it's still about using technology to accelerate your sales, marketing, and service processes. But the way we're doing it is changing, the way you can offer it or consume it, and the feature set is growing significantly. And I'll echo what Gus mentioned. There's so much new stuff still yet to come and then you factor in a LinkedIn acquisition, that'll change the parameters again. But at the end of the day, it is still the block and tackling of business, sales, service, and marketing.
Awesome. I think that is a great wrap, everyone. Excuse me.
Right on time.
That's another meeting reminder. So I think that's a great wrap, everyone. I just want to say thanks to all the panelists. You guys are always awesome, and I enjoy more than anything doing these panel sessions with you. You have so much knowledge. We all have so much knowledge to provide to the community. So I'm looking forward to continuing this on a monthly basis. And as people begin to consume Dynamics 365, I'm quite certain we're going to have more and more questions when the docs are in next time. So look for us, everyone. We've got the Facebook group page. Watch out for the events, and we look forward to having you join us in the future. With that, I want to say bye to all my buds, all my MVP buds, and I hope you have a great week.
Dude, thanks everybody.
Thank you, Donna. Thanks, everybody. Take care.